We're in Seattle where the fish are flying off Puget Sound. A lot of Diamondbacks fans with us for this series, and the winning ways have continued. 3 of 4 against the Brewers and a win last night to open up this long road trip. Tonight, the rookie who started this run makes an encore performance. It's Zack Godley on the mound. It's the Diamondbacks and the Mariners on Fox Sports Arizona. And good evening from Safeco Field. Welcome to the broadcast. Steve Berthume, Bob Brenly along the way. The D-backs and the Mariners, the second of a 3-game series. And Bob, I wonder, what can Zack Godley do for an encore?
Well, we're going to find out. One start does not a career make, but boy, it was sure encouraging to see what Zack Godley did in his first major league start. Really commanded his 2 fastballs well in the early going, mixed in his secondary pitches. Had great field awareness on this double play, something you don't see from a lot of young players, something you don't see from a lot of veteran players. But tremendous numbers for Zack Godley. Really looking forward to his start against the Mariners tonight.
Outstanding versus the Brewers last Thursday. He's up against the veteran Hisashi Iwakuma for Seattle. If the Diamondbacks are going to win here tonight, they need to find some offense. They won last night, but did not have a base hit after the 3rd inning.
Yeah, you go back to July 10th, the Diamondbacks have struck out more than they've gotten hits, averaging under 3 runs a game. Fortunately, this offensive slump has coincided with the starting pitching really picking it up, so the numbers not as bad overall as they could possibly be.
Diamondbacks with 3 catchers again. Jared Saltalamacchia activated yesterday. Salty is the DH. Oscar Hernandez behind the plate. And Wellington Castillo on the mend. He's been hit twice in the elbow. An update on the D-backs catcher. And then his first pitch from Safeco Field in Seattle.
In part by Cox Gigablast. How will you live the gig life? By Lone Butte Casino. You're in for more winning moments at Lone Butte Casino. And by Jack in the Box. For a limited time, try the new Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack with melted garlic herb butter.
Interleague play brings us to beautiful Seattle, Washington, AL West, NL West matchup. The Mariners and the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks took game 1 of this 3-game series last night. Tonight we get you ready for game 2. Jody Jackson with you here on the field. An injury update for you. A couple of players. One injury happening earlier today. The relievers, as they always do, were doing drills in the outfield here on the field at Safeco. And Randall Delgado went down, appeared to tweak his ankle. And so not sure how bad it is right now, but I know the Diamondbacks don't expect him to miss much time. Meanwhile, Wellington Castillo, the catcher, is not in the lineup today. He is going to have a day of rest after being plunked on the elbow. This is Saturday at Chase Field. Taylor Youngman gets him good. He said his elbow was hurting and his arm was numb. And then last night, what are the odds? Hit once again in that exact same spot. He was wearing a pad on the elbow, which you would think maybe made it a little bit better, but Wellington said he felt like he was hit even a little more square on the elbow last night. But he gave a lot of credit to the trainers. He said he's basically been in the training room not only last night, but most of the day today, and it is feeling much better. And I'm learning that with Wellington, he will continually tell you that he is okay and that no one is 100% right now. But I got to tell you that the elbow is bruised, and Chip Hale, of course, deciding not to put him in the lineup. He could hit tonight, but definitely not catch. That was the word from Chip Hale. So looking to keep these catchers healthy. Meanwhile, Zach Godley, 25 years of age, a native of South Carolina, University of Tennessee, made his debut, and it was stellar at Chase Field, looking for an encore here in Seattle.
But in a big ballpark against a talented and veteran pitcher, your Arizona Ford starter for Seattle, it's 34-year-old right-hander Hisashi Iwakuma. Very good during his Seattle tenure, but was injured this year. He missed all of May and June. Tonight, just his 5th start back from the DL. Here's Jared Saltalamacchia.
He's a great pitcher. He's got great stuff. Not expecting anything to stay the same. He's going to, mix his pitches. He's got good sink, good splitter. So, going to expect a guy to go out there and give everything he's got. We just got to go out there and, take the hits when we can.
Hisashi Iwakuma on the DL near the end of April with a strained lat muscle. He's made 4 starts since returning earlier this month. and has been his old self, which is to say he's been very good. This guy can really pitch.
Yeah, he really can. Back in 2013, he was an American League All-Star, went 14-6 that season with an ERA of 2.66, was third in the American League Cy Young voting. Throw a lot of two-seamers, a lot of four-seam fastballs. His splitter is his best off-speed pitch. He also throws a slider. Will mix in an occasional curve to a left-handed batter, but this guy's a strike thrower.
He's also got that hesitation at the top of his delivery, and that front leg will kick out dramatically right there, almost like a Radio City Rockette. And that's strike one to Ender Inciarte. We're underway. Quinn Wolcott is our plate umpire tonight. Ender in there at .295 and 2 home runs. And quickly down 0-2.
Yeah, you get Iwakuma pitching against Bronson Arroyo. It would look like the Rockettes out there on the mound. Yeah, but
you know, chorus line.
Part of his delivery that I'm sure a lot of it is designed for deception for the hitter. But, you know, we talk a lot about guys that like to pound the glove with the ball. It's all a timing mechanism to get his body in the proper throwing position. Plus, it looks really cool.
That leg just kind of gives it a little half kick. All the way out, full extension.
Yeah, most of the time after the guy brings that left knee up toward his chest, then the next move is a stride toward home plate. But Iwakuma puts that little kick in there just to throw off the hitter's timing.
Robbie Cano has it, one away. A lineup for Chip Hale's Arizona Diamondbacks tonight.
Ender Inciarte at the top of the order. He'll be in right field tonight. A.J. Pollock out in center field. Paul Goldschmidt at first base. David Peralta in left field. Jared Saltalamacchia serving as the DH tonight with good career numbers against Iwakuma. Jake Lamb, last night's hero, at third base. Chris Owings at second. Oscar Hernandez doing the catching, and Nick Ahmed at shortstop.
A.J. Pollock in the 2-hole tonight. 302 and 11 homers. Coming off an 0 for 5 last night.
You see the velocity is not overpowering for Iwakuma. He's all about command and control. Keep the ball down, in, out, up, down.
That low 90s fastball, he is really good at spotting that pitch on the edges of the strike zone, both in and out, always down. And then that splitter that just drops out of the zone. The bottom seems to fall out of it. And he's also got a big, slow, loopy curveball he likes to drop in there from time to time.
Yeah, that splitter is his go-to pitch when he's in trouble, when runners in scoring position, with 2 strikes on a batter. That's the pitch he likes to go to.
It's a good one.
It's right there.
You get a lot of weak contact like that, but Iwakuma has no play. Going to try and let it roll foul, and it does. Just caught the break.
I was hoping against hope that chalk was piled up on that third baseline there, but not enough to push this one back into fair territory. Just trickles across the line, and of course once it's off the line in foul territory, you have to touch it for it to become a foul ball.
Oh, 2 on A.J. Pollock. Goldie on deck. Another beautiful day and evening here in Seattle. We have had spectacular weather. This is great news for all the D-backs fans who are here with us, and there's a lot of them. They are all over the ballpark. A lot of Sedona red here today. Take a look at Seattle defensively. Our mid-first bank starting defense for the Mariners.
A couple of changes for Lloyd McClendon tonight. Dustin Ackley out in left field. Austin Jackson in center. Seth Smith tonight over in right field. It'll be Kyle Seager and Brad Miller on the left side of the infield with Robinson Cano and former D-back Mark Trumbo on the right side. Mike Zunino doing the catching for the right-hander Hisashi Iwakuma.
A day off for Logan Morrison. Trumbo at first. It's his 6th start this year at first for Seattle. 1-2 on Pollock. D-backs fans walking all over Pioneer Square down at Pike's Market catching fish. A whole big group here with us on this trip.
It's a good stop rather in the summertime. Escape the Phoenix heat. A lot of people go to San Diego, and understandably so. It's very close, but boy, if you've got the time and the money to make a summer vacation, I would highly recommend Seattle.
Yeah, we hit the jackpot weather-wise here. Day game tomorrow is supposed to be gorgeous. 1-2. Base hit for AJ.
Well, he's hitting over .330 in July. It's been his best month of the season at the plate. And he's aboard with 1 out for Goldie.
That's the kind of at bat you like first time around against a pitcher you've never seen before. Force him to throw all of his pitches. And I think AJ saw everything other than the big slow curveball that Iwakuma has out there on the mound in that at bat.
Paul Goldschmidt, the National League's leading hitter. And in the first inning this year, hitting over .400 with 6 home runs, including 1 yesterday, his 22nd of the year.
There's the slower breaking ball. He'll try to steal a strike from time to time.
Goldie leading the major leagues in RBIs, walks, and on-base percentage.
Now this is a slower curveball in the low 70s, about 10 miles per hour slower than his hard breaking ball, that slider that's usually 82, 83.
He'll show you that slow, loopy curveball for strikes early in the game, and then the rest of the night just throw it down in the dirt and try and get you to chase it. Fly ball, right field. Seth Smith on the warning track. 2 down. Well, very appropriate that this ballpark is built literally right next to a big railroad yard, because here's the freight train. David Peralta, when the roof is open like this, it juts out over the back of the ballpark and covers up the railroad tracks. They're that close, running right behind that big center field scoreboard, and you will occasionally hear a train whistle. We are surrounded by water and train tracks here at Safeco Field. 271 and 9 homers for David. A night off last night for Peralta. He looks at strike 1. AJ's got a big lead over there. Iwakuma had to step off.
We showed you that leg kick from Iwakuma out of the windup, but out of the stretch he really speeds it up. He still has the kick. It's a little more abbreviated, but this guy's tough to run on. Base stealers were 0 for 8 last season, 0 for 1 so far this year.
Yeah, there's no hesitation from the stretch versus the windup, that's for sure. Pollock goes. Here's the throw from Zunino, and it's not in time. 23rd stolen base of the year for A.J. Pollock.
Strong throw by Zunino on a pitch that was to his left, to his glove side. Always makes it a little tougher to close that front shoulder. A.J. just able to get in underneath the tag.
Did a nice job, too, of keeping that foot on the bag there. That wasn't easy with his momentum coming up like that. 1-1 to Peralta. AJ in scoring position. He's tied with Goldie and Bryce Harper for the league lead in runs scored. Three and 1.
And depending on what the Reds did today, Diamondbacks only 2 behind Cincinnati for the National League lead in stolen bases now.
Well, they have Billy Hamilton. That shouldn't count.
Yeah, a great equalizer.
3-1 pitch from Hisashi Iwakuma. Base hit for Peralta. Andy Green waving home AJ. He will score, and it's 1-0 D-backs. An RBI for Peralta, and a big 2-out hit for the Diamondbacks.
That's a huge hit because the Mariners on the season are 14-41 when the opposition scores first. They were able to jump ahead on the Goldie home run in the first inning last night, and tonight it's David Peralta with an RBI base hit into left field.
Stolen base for A.J. made a big difference there. 1-0 Arizona. And fresh off the DL is the DH, Jared Saltalamacchia. Of course, he's played here quite a bit from his American League days in Texas and Boston.
Good timing for Salty. 4 for 5 lifetime against Iwakuma. What a great time to come off the DL.
167, a pair of home runs. Came in late last night defensively for Wellington Castillo. But prior to that, Salty had not played since July 11th. He's been on the DL with a strained left neck. Down 0-2. His right neck was fine.
His right neck was fine.
The left one was a little shaky.
We've had a little fun with that. I'm sure it wasn't fun for Jared Saltalamacchia trying to come back from that strained neck, but on the media notes it did say strained left neck, and we were both kind of in shock.
Well, it's hard to play on one neck.
I know.
The 0-2. Well, he had been a productive hitter at the plate at the time of his injury, Salty. He hit it safely in 6 of his last 8 games. And had also drawn 5 walks over that span. So some good at bats before he was injured. He did not go. Chris Siegel down there at third. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I was talking to Chip Hale yesterday about Jared Saltalamacchia, and granted the batting average not where he or the Diamondbacks would like it to be, but Chip was really impressed with the quality of his at bats. A lot of times, much like Goldie, he's been behind 0-2 or 1-2, foul off a couple of pitches, run that count to full, and on occasion has taken big base on balls after being way behind in the count.
Sky high short left. Miller ranging out there in front of Ackley. He's got it, and they strand a runner at first, but the Diamondbacks, just like last night, get a run in the top of the first inning. David Peralta, the freight train on the tracks, an RBI single, and it's 1-0 D-backs. Major league debut last Thursday against the Brewers, and tonight on a big league mound for just the second time, his pitching coach is Mike Harkey.
Just kind of watch, 2 to 3 starts to kind of see the things that and evaluate them, the best way I can. I don't like to throw a lot of things at a young pitcher. I just want him to go out there and compete and do what he was doing when he was down there, and then kind of help him through the end game adjustments that he's going to need to make.
He is your Arizona Ford starting pitcher last week, the first pitcher in baseball's modern era, which is since 1900, to throw 6 scoreless innings with at least 7 strikeouts and no walks. in his major league debut. Chip Hale said, however, now, Bob, Godley has got to turn the page.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was very nice. Your first major league start. Very exciting for him and his family. No question about it. But now you got to do it again.
Austin Jackson, the leadoff man, down 1-2. The former Tigers outfielder, 251 and 5 home runs.
I like Mike Harkey's comments about not giving him too much to think about out there. Just go out and do what you do. It's been successful up to this point. It was successful in the minor leagues. Don't change a thing yet. And if there are adjustments to be made moving forward, you got plenty of time to work on those.
Good start. He strikes out Jackson, who was 0 for 4 with 3 punch-outs last night. Quickly one down. The lineup for Lloyd McClendon, Seattle Mariners tonight.
Austin Jackson at the top in center field. Kyle Seager at third base. Nelson Cruz has reached base in 29 of his last 32 interleague games. He'll be in the 3 spot, DHing. Robinson Cano at second base. Seth Smith out in right field. Mark Trumbo at first base. Brad Miller at short. Mike Zunino doing the catching, and Dustin Ackley out in left field.
Shift is on for the left-hand hitting Kyle Seager. Jake Lamb, the Seattle native, right out there with second base umpire Alfonso Marquez. As Seager takes ball 1. 275 and 15 home runs, but just 3 of those homers have come here at Safeco Field. Two-0. Seager 1 for 5 last night. 10th inning single against Andrew Chafin, and that late single extended his hitting streak to 7 games.
Routine out there pre-pitch. He takes that deep breath every time, just kind of relax his entire body, take the stress out of his shoulders and his neck muscles. Very poised, as we mentioned in the pregame and the open of the show.
It's funny you mention that. He had a brief conversation with Tony La Russa, who is here tonight, before the start last week, and Tony told him, you know, you're going to have nerves. Everybody does. It's just a matter of being able to take a deep breath, settle in, and throw strikes. And he seems to be literally doing that. Certainly did against the Brewers. 88 pitches, 66 strikes.
Yeah, occasionally you'll see a young pitcher out there on the mound, and when we take those shots, you know, like from the middle of the chest up, you can see the guy heaving out there. You know, and granted, he's putting a lot of effort into it, but it's not an aerobic sport. It's pitching, and you have to be able to control your emotions, control your breathing, and make sure everything is working in sync out there on the mound.
2-2 on Kyle Seager. Into the shift. Chris Owings from the outfield grass. 2 down. Take a look at the Diamondbacks around their rookie right-hander, our mid-first bank starting defense.
Coming outfield of Peralta, Pollock, and Inciarte left to right. Jake Lamb and Nick Ahmed on the left side of the infield, with Chris Owings and Paul Goldschmidt on the right side. Oscar Hernandez, the youngster behind the plate, and Zach Godley, the youngster on the mound.
The veteran Nelson Cruz now, the DH tonight. 1 for 5 with a single and a strikeout in last night's series opener. First pitch swinging. Jake Lamb in the hole. Tough throw across his body, and a quick 1-2-3 first for Zach Godley, who sprints off the mound here in Seattle. Jake Lamb, the Seattle native, in front of another 90 friends and family here tonight, ends the first, and it's 1-0 Diamondbacks.
Big hello to everyone watching in South Carolina, the Palmetto State. Native son Zach Godley picking up right where he left off last week. A perfect 1-2-3 first, and now Jake Lamb leads off the second. 1-0 Diamondbacks on a David Peralta RBI single. And Jake Lamb, this is a big series for him. The Seattle native, 273, 2 homers, 90 friends and family here last night. A lot of Lamb 19 jerseys all over the streets in the ballpark. We ran into a few actually walking out of the park last night. His brother. At least he said he was his brother.
Yeah.
So a whole, literally a whole flock of lambs here.
There
right?
you go. Had to look it up. I didn't know what a group of lambs was called, but it's a flock.
As opposed to San Francisco, where we get the flock of seagulls. They ran so far away.
And we do run when those seagulls come around the booth.
And they're there to eat. 3-0 on Lamb. Jake last night 0 for 2, a pair of walks. He scored a run. And also had the RBI sac fly in the 10th off former D-back great Fidel Nuno. That drove in what proved to be the winning run. 3 balls and 2 strikes now. And this was front page news here in Seattle. How about that?
That's a big deal, you know, and you come back home and friends and family and a lot of people that remember your name from your days as an amateur ball player here in the area, and then you see your name in the headlines of the sports page. That's outstanding.
That's another walk. He had 2 last night. A leadoff man aboard in the second.
Well, I take that as a great sign for Jake Lamb. Starting to see the ball a little better. He, too, was having pitch recognition issues when he came off that disabled list. But with each passing week, getting that strike zone narrowed in a little bit more.
From Bishop Blanchett High School right here in Seattle, and, of course, played collegiately at the University of Washington. A Husky. Here's another South Carolina native from Gilbert, South Carolina, Chris Owings. 231, 3 homers. Reunion with his former teammate Mark Trumbo down there at first. Chris 1 for 5 last night, had a single in his first at bat.
Fans, anytime the D-backs score 5 runs or more, Taco Bell is giving away 3 free tacos with the purchase of a large drink between 4 and 6 the following day at participating locations.
Sashi Iwakuma missed 2 months with that strained lat muscle. Made his return at the beginning of this month and was a little rusty his first time out. Got knocked around by Detroit, but after that he's been very good. Fly ball up into that light sky, left center field. Austin Jackson just shy of the warning track. And here goes Lamb with a heads-up play. And Jake's into second. Hit to the deepest part of the ballpark, that nook and cranny out there in left center. And Lamb able to take advantage. Moves up 90 feet.
Smart base running right there. The play's right in front of you. So go back and tag up. Start to advance to second. If you see that throw's online and is going to beat you, you stop and go back to first. But that time Jake able to get in there underneath the tag. Himself into scoring position with 1 out.
Oscar Hernandez behind the plate, just his 6th big league start. After catching Zach Godley in Godley's debut last Thursday against Milwaukee. And Oscar learning at the game's highest level under the unique circumstances that you have to deal with as a Rule 5 pick. He just turned 22 and was an A-ball last year. It needs to be on the big league roster for 90 days or be returned to the Tampa Bay Rays. And this is a tall order for a young man. He has struck out in 11 of his first 16 at-bats in the major leagues. There's Wellington Castillo. Saw him in the hotel last night, all taped up on that elbow. He said it got him in the exact same spot. He was just saying, no good, no good.
He looked like he was in pain. You just felt bad for the guy.
We were talking about it before the ball game. I mean, you can imagine the swelling and the inflammation in that area after getting hit in that Brewers series. Probably just started the healing process and then gets plunked again on exactly the same spot.
He said he had that pad on there, but it didn't really seem, because it just hit him flush, it didn't really seem to help a whole lot. One and two on Oscar. A roller to shortstop, Brad Miller. Jake Lamb into third, and that's the second out. Brings up Nick Ahmed.
We should mention it just in case you weren't with us last night, and if you weren't, what the heck were you doing?
Please.
But yeah, here in this ballpark, very much a pitcher's yard. Although when the sun is still out, the temperature's still relatively warm, the ball will fly. We saw Wellington Castillo and Paul Goldschmidt both go deep early in the ball game last night, but once the sun went down, the ball just wasn't going anywhere.
I mean, it is a spectacular setting here in the football stadium right behind left field. CenturyLink Field where the Seahawks play. It's a great complex out here right off Pioneer Square in downtown Seattle. All kinds of bars and restaurants all around us. There's the football facility, CenturyLink. The Link, as it's known here. Home of the 12th man, the 12s. Nick, 223 and 6 home runs. 1 for 4 with a single last night. Mention Iwakuma, his first start off the DL was hit pretty hard by the Tigers. Since then, he's been outstanding. 2-0 in his last 3 starts against good teams, the Angels, the Yankees, and the Tigers. And over those last 3 starts, he's given up just 4 runs in under 21 innings. But the Diamondbacks got to him right away here. A Pollock single and a stolen base, a Peralta single. 1-0 D-backs after 1. Bounce to shortstop. Miller. They strand the leadoff walk. Bottom 2 coming up. 1-0 Diamondbacks.
Time to take a look at our Valley Honda keys to the game. If you've been with us lately, we've been following the leader since Zach Godley turned out to be the leader of the rotation. So for Zach, how about an encore performance this time? And For the Diamondbacks, they haven't hit a multiple run homer since July 11th. So let's try to get him on and go deep tonight.
Here's a guy that went deep last night, Robinson Cano. He'll lead off the Seattle second against rookie Zack Godley. Cano 265, 11 home runs. Number 11 last night against Robbie Ray. Robinson Cano last night with 2 outs in the 6th. The hanger.
Such an easy swing, produced a lot of fly ball out there to right field.
Just the 3rd home run given up all year by Robbie Ray, who was terrific last night. 2 runs on 6 hits and 7 with 8 strikeouts. There's a strike, 2-1. Robbie Cano has really picked up the offensive pace lately. An 8-game hitting streak, batting over 400 during his streak, including 3 home runs. Hard to second. Chris Owings, the backhand stop. That's 3 straight ground ball outs for Zack Godley.
It's a good sign, keeping that fastball cutter combination down. Only threw 1 changeup in the first inning of the ball game, relying on that fastball moving both directions.
That's the thing when you talk about Zack Godley throwing strikes, and he was outstanding last time. 88 pitches, 66 strikes. Now the pitches he throws for strikes aren't necessarily in the strike zone. His ball moves so much it just darts and dives out of the zone, but the Brewers hitters chased. And so far so good against the Mariners.
Now going into Zack Godley's first start in the major leagues, all we knew was he threw a heavy sinker. But as we've now learned, he also throws a cut fastball and mix in an occasional curve, occasional changeup. Of the 20 off-speed pitches, the curve and changeup, only 3 of them missed the strike zone in his first start.
Another ground ball out right here. Goldie. Godley covers, 2 down. The Goldie-Godley combo.
Like that.
Former D-back Mark Trumbo now. Jake Lamb over there to give Godley a minute to catch his breath.
How about that move for a young player? Jake Lamb, realizing that it wasn't much of an effort, but Zack Godley had to run over and cover first base. So just giving him a moment, make sure that he's not out there huffing and puffing. His breathing is under control, and go right back to work.
Big cut for Mark that time. As you saw a moment ago, 244 for the year. 227 with Seattle, including 3 home runs. And had a very good night at the plate last night. 3 hits, a pair of doubles. And his double in the 9th led to the tying run. Zach jumps ahead 0-2. Mark told me yesterday he really likes to hit in this ballpark, sees the ball really well here. Very good hitter's background out there in center. And likes the way it carries out to left field. Checks the swing there. He did not go, says Tom Halley and the crew chief down at first. He told me what he really wants to do. There's the hitter's background. Is get to a Seahawks game. I said, what are you going to do in the offseason? You think about selling your place in the valley, moving here. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I just want to get to a Seahawks game. And that's an experience over there. Reaches out and dunks it into right. Base hit for Trumbo. That's his 4th hit in this series.
Just a little defensive bat flip right there. Get the barrel on it. Guide it out there toward right field. Mark Trumbo with the first base hit for the Mariners tonight.
Brings up the shortstop, Brad Miller.
I think it'd be safe to go ahead and get Seahawks tickets for, early to mid-October, because the Mariners aren't going to be busy.
No? Well, let's see. On the phone there. They are
10 games behind the Angels for the AL West lead. 7 out of an American League wildcard spot right now. 46 and 54 on the year.
Yeah, go ahead and make your off-season plans.
Fair point. Been getting a lot of calls about Iwakuma, apparently. That was reported by Fox Sports' John Paul Morosi. Take a look at the AL West here. Iwakuma's in the final year of his deal, 3 years, $20 million. Seattle is not committed to trading him before the deadline. He's a piece they might move. They picked up Trumbo, but obviously that hasn't worked out quite as well as they hoped. Here comes Nick Ahmed. Tough play here for Nick. And that's the end of the inning. That's 5 ground ball outs through 2 innings for Zach Godley. And some more Diamondback defense behind him. Through 2, it's 1-0 Arizona. Patrick Corbin will start tomorrow afternoon. Series finale, our Chevron upcoming pitching matchup. Fox Sports Arizona will not televise the game tomorrow. What a pitching matchup this is. Corbin and King Felix. That's an afternoon start. 12:40 first pitch here at Safeco Field. Radio only as Ender Inciarte drives this one deep to left center field. Austin Jackson runs it down just shy of the wall. So no TV tomorrow for Corbin, King Felix. Radio only. It's up to the governor, who has a new partner here for this series, former Mariners great J.J. Putz.
Yeah, J.J. Returning hero here in Seattle. He's been all over the place.
J.J. just went to get a drink of water. The Gub is holding down the fort. And as usual, Leo Gilmartin nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be seen.
Just can't contribute in any way at all. But the Gub and J.J. on the radio throughout this series. Here's A.J. Pollock. A.J. singled, stole a base, and scored a run. His first time up.
The first time through the lineup, everybody in the Diamondbacks order, with the exception of Chris Owings and Nick Ahmed, took until they had a strike. Now, most of these guys haven't seen Iwakuma before, and I think that's a good way to approach it in that first at bat. Try to see as many pitches as you can, take till you get a strike, and then in subsequent at bats, use the information that you gather in that first at bat.
Foul just by Andy Green at third.
Stolen base by A.J. Pollock back in the first inning. The first steal against Iwakuma since the 2013 season. Jared Dyson of the Royals stole a base against him.
Funny when you think with that leg kick and all he does, he'd be not easy to steal on, but certainly not impossible.
He's released a home on that stolen base. We had it on our stopwatch up here. 1.2 seconds to home, which usually will get you an opportunity to throw out a base stealer, but AJ just outran Zunino's throw to second.
Another 1-2 to AJ Pollock. Iwakuma in his second start back from that lat muscle injury earlier this month. Through 8 innings of shutout ball against the Angels, gave up just 3 hits. He won at Yankee Stadium in his next start and pitched very well his last time out. That was last Thursday at Detroit. 7 innings, 2 runs. He struck out 7. And looks to be healthy again and back on form. 2-2 now. And as you can see, he's done very well against the Angels, the Yankees, and the Tigers. Pretty good numbers after missing more than 2 months. 2-2. In there, called strike 3. First strikeout for Hisashi Iwakuma.
AJ caught guessing on the 2-strike count. That's a fastball right down the middle. 92 miles per hour, not a whole lot of movement, just a little tailing action on that 4-seamer, and AJ couldn't pull the trigger.
2 down for Goldie, who flied out his first time. In the hole, Miller won't get there. It's a base hit for Goldie. He's now hit in 10 straight.
This was going to be interesting if Miller did come up with this backhanded play deep in the hole. I don't know if he would have got Goldie at first base, but it would have been fun to watch that foot race. Goldie trying to outrun that throw from deep in the hole.
Came into the ball game with a 9-game hitting streak, and during that streak batting .440. 1 for 2 tonight. And here's Peralta, who drove in the game's only run with a single back in the first. Iwakuma threw 2 2/3, about to throw pitch number 50 already. This was David back in the first inning, a 2-out single.
Yeah, came to the opposite field, and even with that recent memory of what David Peralta is capable of doing, the Mariners still playing him to pull in the outfield. Austin Jackson several steps over in the gap in right center. Dustin Ackley shaded over toward the gap in left center a little bit. A lot of room down the line and in that left center field gap.
Big ballpark. The fences were actually moved in 2 or 3 years ago at one point in left center. See where that Mariners logo is in left center field? They moved the fence in there 17 feet. That's a long way to move a fence in. So this place used to be just enormous. Now it's just really big. They added a whole bunch of new seats in there. Peralta knocks it the other way. That one rolls all the way to the wall. This is going to give Goldie a chance to score. Andy Green is waving him in. There is no throw, and it's 2-0 Diamondbacks. Peralta gets himself hung up out there, but Goldie comes across all the way from first. Another RBI for David Peralta. Dustin Ackley just not able to get over there and cut it off. It rolled all the way to the wall. And here comes Goldie. Now it's Goldie on the train tracks coming home. 2-0 Diamondbacks.
Here in Seattle, Jody Jackson with you. Diamondbacks have a 2-0 lead for Zach Godley on the mound. Second major league start, and considering that he started the year in Single A, new to the organization, and maybe a bit of a surprise, guys, I'll send it to you.
Mike Zunino, first pitch, the first big league homer given up by Zach Godley. Zunino hitting .180 on the year, but he's got big-time power. And that's his 10th of the season. Quickly 2-1 ball game now.
One of the very few pitches we've seen Zach Godley elevate. That one about belt high on the inside part of the plate, as you mentioned. Zunino doesn't hit for much of an average. He swings and misses a lot. But when he makes contact, he can put a charge on it.
That was blasted. Dustin Ackley. As Zunino, last season, 22 home runs. The third overall pick in the 2012 draft out of the University of Florida. And here's Ackley. Another guy that was a high pick that hasn't worked out. Ackley was the second overall pick back in '09, a North Carolina Tar Heel, and he's at .210 on the year. His career in Seattle might be on life support. It's just been a steady decline here for the guy that was drafted after Steven Strasburg. Not too long ago, a batting slump that has now extended into its fourth year. One columnist here wrote recently that every time Lloyd McClendon writes Ackley's name in the lineup, it seems to be either a reprieve or a last right.
You know, you've heard me say, partner, I'm a big fan of looking at a guy's face. And you can almost tell if he's feeling anxiety, feeling stress, feeling pressure. Dustin Ackley looks like he's about to squeeze sawdust out of that bat.
Drives it to center. A.J. Pollock. I mean, he was an extremely well thought of player coming out of college in North Carolina. Just hasn't played like a top pick, a career batting average of just over .240. And defensively, he's been, well, something of a square peg in several round holes. He was a first baseman, a second baseman, now an outfielder.
Well, they say that scouting and drafting is a very inexact science. You know, you try to do your homework and your due diligence and see a guy in as many different situations as you can to judge what you think he's going to project to be in a few years. And sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss.
Austin Jackson struck out his first time. He's already struck out 4 times in this series. Yeah, there's been a lot of misses from the front office here. Jack Zarinsek, the GM, is under some fire. They have resources here. They've had a number of high draft picks, but for whatever reason, the talent and maybe some of the choices just haven't worked out. There's Jack Z, as he's known.
Yeah, for years, a lot of people around the game of baseball have said the travel will catch up with the Mariners eventually in the second half of the season. They don't have an easy trip at all. Their shortest road trip is 2.5 hours down the coast to Oakland.
Well, I got one for you. Think about this. They're in the AL West with the Rangers and now the Astros. So they have to fly 3 times for each team every year from Seattle way down to Texas. Base hit for Jackson. You're flying down to Southern California to play the Angels. I mean, every flight is just arduous.
You know, they've said that about the Cubs over the years as well. All the day games, and now that the Cubs have incorporated more night games in their schedule, if anything, it makes it even tougher. Play a couple of day games on Monday and Tuesday, maybe a Wednesday night game, a Thursday day game, a Friday day game, a Saturday night game. It just it's almost impossible for players to get on any kind of a rhythm or routine with their meals, their sleep schedule, and then you go back out on the road and play almost exclusively night games.
Kyle Seager. Zach Godley, 5 ground ball outs through the first 2 innings, but everything here in the third has been up in the air.
But we tried that with the Giants in 1985 because Candlestick Park was so miserable for fans to come out for a night game. They tried to schedule a lot more day games. Over half of our games were day games. But the thing you didn't consider was, day game, night game, day game, night game. It just beat us to death. I mean, we weren't very good to start with, but that was our excuse.
And you seized it. Slow tapper to third. Jake Lamb get one. And get the force on Jackson for the second out. Brings up Nelson Cruz. I've talked to guys that used to play here, and they said it's tough, man. It's a lot of extra miles, and it does take a toll over the course of a 6-month season. Cruz grounded out his first time up, 0 for 1. Nelson Cruz, a 7-game hitting streak. He's got 4 home runs during a 7-game streak. 25 on the year. But just 6 of those homers have come here at Safeco Field. Two-0. Nelson Cruz, an all-star for the 3rd straight year, his first in Seattle. Voted in as the DH. Oscar Hernandez trying to catch Seager down there. He's back in time.
Seager just leaning a little bit toward second base. Didn't really have much of a chance to get him, but good to see Oscar snapping a throw down there just to keep him honest.
In the meantime, Godley behind, 3-0 on Cruz. All 4. Oh, pardon me, 3. Oh, scoreboard just changed it, 3-1 now. There you go. We got some confusion going on in the scoreboard mission control here about the counts. But here's the 3-1. Roller over the mound. Ahmed behind the bag. And he throws out Cruz. Either way, it's a ground ball out for Godley. Mike Zunino, his 10th home run of the year, the first given up in the big leagues by Zach Godley. Diamondbacks have a 2-1 lead. Well, the confusion here in the ballpark was on that 3rd pitch to Nelson Cruz when Oscar Hernandez threw to first. Check Quinn Walcott, the plate umpire. I mean, that's inside. There's the strike mechanic, so he did call it a strike there. They put a ball up on the scoreboard. So it looked like the Diamondbacks for a minute might have gotten away with one, but that was indeed a strike called by Quinn Wolka. So Jared Saltalamacchia, who popped out his first time up, leads off the fourth. Salty the DH tonight. Aaron Hill had DH duty last night. Three 3-0. Broken bat, pop up near the line. Seager has it, one away. Brings up Jake Lamb.
Hey fans, when the D-backs win, you win at Papa John's. A day after every Diamondbacks win, you get 50% off your regular menu price online order at Papa John's. Enter promo code DBACKS50 at papajohns.com.
Jake walked his first time up. He's already walked 3 times in the series, and there's ball 1. Mentioned yesterday that when Jake was playing high school ball here in Seattle, he was drafted by the Pirates the 38th round. Decided to pass and go to college locally, University of Washington. He's a Husky, a freshman All-American.
Well, you just love to see Jake step on one here in this series with all the friends and family here. All the recognition he's had in the last couple days here in the Seattle area. It'd be great to see him go deep.
A flock of lambs. His mom Dion right in the middle. 2-2. There they are.
What I said about seeing stress and tension on the face. Mom's got it. Jake doesn't.
Got a game face on. Iwakuma comes back to strike him out. Second strikeout for Iwakuma. 2 down. Brings up Chris Owings.
Yeah, this is Iwakuma. That's what he's all about. Location, location, location. Little tailing action on that 92-mile-an-hour fastball right on the outside part of the plate.
It ain't easy, is it?
No, it isn't.
you were in that spot for a long time.
It's a helpless feeling. All the parents out there know exactly what I'm talking about. You can only do so much, and then you have to let them go out there and either succeed or fail on their own. But you never stop rooting for them.
Chris flying out his first time up.
Talking about the Mariners and their travel issues and the Cubs and their scheduling issues. One thing those two franchises have in common: Lou Piniella managed at both places.
Wow. Yeah, he's still a legend here, Lou.
Oh, yeah.
Pictures of Lou all over the ballpark. They have a great Mariners Hall of Fame that you can just kind of stroll through right in the ballpark, and lots of pictures of Lou. Julio Cruz and Alvin Davis and all those great Mariners from back in the day. Gaylord Perry. These teams in the late 70s and then the mid 90s. Another fly ball. This went out to right center field. Austin Jackson. Iwakuma settling in, maybe a 1-2-3-4. Diamondbacks lead it 2-1.
Chief baseball officer talking about the conversations that Dave Stewart's having right now as the trade deadline approaches on Friday. He said by the way that Dave is working the phones, there could be action, but he didn't have a crystal ball, so we shall see. But I did get to talk to him about Zach Godley, guys, and he said, look, he got the call up because he's done everything that we want pitchers to do in this organization. Stay down in the zone, elevate on purpose, but mainly stay down. Obviously, that pitch to Zunino, not what they're looking for, but everyone, of course, every pitcher makes a mistake here and there, but down in the zone, those ground balls he was getting earlier in the game, that's what he'll try to get back to.
And Robbie Cano leads off the fourth. He grounded out the first time.
Second time through the order, look to see more off-speed pitches, both the changeup and the curveball. That was his MO in his first start in the major leagues. A lot of fastballs first time through the order, started to incorporate the secondary pitches the second and third time through.
Godley taking the rotation spot of Chase Anderson, who's on the DL with that triceps inflammation. And Chip Hale, after watching Zach pitch last week, said he just fit right in, didn't seem to be bothered by anything out there. So let's see if that Zunino homer will shake him up at all. He's ahead of Cano 0-2. It's funny, he said after the beer shower celebration he got from all his teammates last week, he just went out and celebrated with a nice quiet dinner, his fiancée at their hotel bar, and then spent the next week replying to text messages.
Dear Zach, I used to date your mother's hairdresser's uncle. Can I get tickets to the game?
I'm sure he got a few of those. It was funny. One thing he did do, he said, was after the start, go down to the D-backs team shop at the ballpark and buy a whole bunch of Zach Godley jerseys to send back home to South Carolina. And hopefully they're all wearing them tonight. Staying up late back in South Carolina. Just a few weeks ago he was at Visalia. Now here he is at Safeco Field trying to retire Robinson Cano. It's amazing. Prior to his start last week against Milwaukee, Zach Godley had pitched only 3 games above the A ball level as a professional. 8-3, a 2.27 ERA at Visalia. 3 starts with Double-A Mobile, and suddenly in the big leagues. Two and two.
The off-speed stuff for Zach Godley. He hadn't thrown a lot of off-speed pitches, only 8 changeups and a curveball, but only 3 changeups in the strike zone. The curveball missed as well. Got badly away that time from Zach. He's trying to pound a sinker down there on the outer part of the plate.
Loses Cano, leadoff walk. And that's the first major league walk issued by Zach Godley.
I wonder how much of that walk right there is a byproduct of the advance meeting. I'm sure Oscar Hernandez and Zach Godley, along with Mike Harkey, went over the report. And certainly if there's a guy in this lineup you don't want to let beat you, it'd be Robinson Cano, as hot as he's been lately. Maybe just pitching a little too carefully leading off the inning.
Yeah, Robbie Cano on that 8-game hitting streak. So far a ground out and a walk. Here's Seth Smith, who grounded out his first time. Zach starting to fall behind in counts.
We're about one more pitch out of the zone away from a meeting at the mound.
That first pitch he threw to Zunino, he just blasted out of here. I wonder if that's made him a little gun shy here to open up these at bats.
He's been 50-50 on his 26 pitches since that homer. 13 balls, 13 strikes, make it 14 balls, 13 strikes. closer to an even split than you would like.
I remember his last start, 88 pitches, 66 strikes. Bouncer to second. Owens. They get the force on Cano, and they turn the double play. They erase the leadoff walk. Quickly 2 down. So Zach Godley goes back to the ground ball, and it works out.
One thing you know for sure, as a middle infielder turning a double play with Robinson Cano running at first, you don't have to worry about him breaking up a double play. He just jogs a couple steps and then veers out of the way.
Now, what do you think about that? Because there's one school of thought that would say, look, he's making $240 million. You want to protect him. On the other hand, that's not how they teach it.
Yeah, I mean, what's he making $240 million for? To play baseball. Part of the game of baseball is to try to break up that double play. Continue the inning for Mark Trumbo with another runner on base at first. Only 1 out in the inning. I mean, I get it. I had guys that were nursing injuries from time to time, and we tell them to throttle back, don't overextend yourself. But I'd rather give my $240 million to a guy like Gold. He's going to go hard every play, every game, regardless of the score or the opponent.
Zach, from time to time here, looks like he's overthrowing some pitches. Just trying to put a little too much on it. Spike that one to Trumbo, and it's 1-1. Got the double play ball immediately through strike 1. Just misses there. 2 balls and a strike.
Just not quite as fine. That's a good change up there, dropping down right at the bottom of the zone. Does not get the call that time.
Good take by Trumbo. Now Zach's behind 3-1. Train coming. Right next to the railroad yard.
We've seen that one before.
Once or twice.
Yeah, hitters count, fastball count. Mark Trumbo gets it geared up, starts a little bit early, and ends up chasing a bad pitch out of the zone.
Zach Godley sprints off the mound. Just his second strikeout. A double play ball and a strikeout have Zach Godley through 4 with a 2-1 lead. After the final out of the Diamondbacks and Reds game. Welcome back. Former D-back greats like Jay Bell, Orlando Hudson, Travis Lee, Reggie Sanders, and many more of your favorites. It's our 4th annual alumni exhibition game. You can find a full list of all the players at dbacks.com/alumni. Oscar Hernandez leads off the fifth against Hisashi Iwakuma.
You want to be there just for the Gonzo versus Mike Fetters matchup. That's always worth the price of admission.
It is. It's kind of like Ali Frazier. And one of them always goes down. I still get on Gonzo. You were off. I was doing a game with him, and there was a situation where where one of the best hitters for the other team was up there, and it was a perfect bunt chance. And Gonzo was screaming he should bunt, he should bunt, he should bunt, and he didn't. Little check swing roller, very slow to Cano. Oscar hustling, and he throws him out. Of course, the guy didn't bunt, and Gonzo, kind of let him have it on the air. Well, sure enough, we get to the alumni game like a week later, and it's the same situation. Yeah. And the governor and I were doing the game on the .com, and I'm killing Gonzo for bunting. I mean, nobody goes to these things to see him bunt.
No.
It just was a funny coincidence. And he came back to me a little bit after that.
I don't think Gonzo even knew what the bunt sign was.
Did you ever give him the bunt sign?
No.
Why would you?
I mean, he would try occasionally on his own to bunt for a base hit because they played a lot of shifts when Gonzo came to the plate. And every now and then he'd try to drop one to the left side, but it would roll foul, and then he'd hit one in the seats. Pretty simple.
Ain't broke. Hisashi Iwakuma, 70 pitches now, 43 strikes. Sky high pop up, still a light sky up there. Not easy to see the ball this time of night. Miller's under at 2 down. Hey fans, don't forget on the Twitter, use the hashtag AZDataStrongFan, and you might see your fan photo on our Diamondback TV broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. I know we have JJ here. Leo needs all the help he can get. Jeff Munn not available.
I have a feeling Leo's selection last night was out of spite. I think he was a little upset that he was dropped from the committee and Money kind of took his spot. And then when we asked Leo to jump back in since Money's not on this trip, I think Leo intentionally sabotaged him.
It's very political. Inciarte 0 for 2. Well, Leo has always been kind of a broadcast saboteur. Usually on the radio side. Iwakuma's now set down 5 straight Diamondbacks. They have not had a hit since Peralta's RBI double in the third. He did not go Chris Siegel at third.
Being told by our crack statistical staff here in Seattle that as a Diamondback, Luis Gonzalez had 4 bunt hits.
I don't believe him.
Maybe swinging bunts, where you just top the ball down the third baseline.
One of those excuse me check swings.
Yeah, something
Oops.
like that.
Some friendly scorer trying to pad his stats.
And of course, none of those bunts came with a runner in scoring position. That's just a no-no.
Ender gives it a ride. That ball's going to get out of here. Way back and gone. Ender Inciarte. His third 3-1 Diamondbacks. That was a line drive way back. A no-doubter for Inciarte. Jumped on that one.
Can't say that often in this ballpark, but there was no doubt about it. As soon as he made contact, made that ringing sound off the bat. Iwakuma leaves a fastball up over the inner third. Very similar location to the pitch that Godley left up to Mike Zunino. Inner third of the plate, belt high, and boy, did he put a charge on it.
A.J. Pollock. Bob, that looked like such a nice, easy swing. It wasn't one of these big, massive swings. It was kind of nice and smooth.
About bat speed and solid contact on the barrel.
Well, a home run ball, it's funny, it's kind of bitten Iwakuma a bit in this ballpark. At home in 4 starts, 7 homers in 24 1/3 innings coming into tonight. AJ 1 for 2. butts in the seats.
No fault of Enders, but another solo home run for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, that was one of your keys.
Yeah, we mentioned July 11th against Matt Harvey. David Peralta with a 2-run homer, the last multiple run homer for a D-back hitter.
Oh, he dropped that one in there and got a strike. And AJ for the second straight at bat. Caught looking, but Ender Inciarte, a line drive homer into the right field seats, his third of the season. There it goes, and it's 3-1 D-backs. .3-1 Diamondbacks as Zach Godley goes out there to start the bottom of the fifth against Seattle shortstop Brad Miller. Miller, Zunino, Ackley, 7-8-9 for the Mariners. Miller grounded out his first time up. He's 0 for 1. He was 0 for 4 last night. Mentioned in watching Hisashi Iwakuma that he'll drop that slow, loopy curveball in there for strikes. And he's very good at working the edges of the strike zone, and he caught A.J. Pollock looking on a pitch that may have been inside to win the top half of the seventh. And this is Quinn Walcott behind the plate.
Yeah, when you consider a right-handed pitcher throwing this breaking ball that just misses off the inside corner, that pitch was never in the strike zone. Now A.J.'s at bat earlier in the ball game, he took a fastball right down the middle. Couldn't argue that one, but I'm with A.J. on that one. That breaking ball was inside.
Yeah, there's no way he can swing at that pitch.
No.
He'd be crazy to swing at that pitch. Not much you can do with it, and it's not a strike. 3-1 to Miller. That one is a foul ball.
Well, according to PitchFX, which they watch every pitch, they log where it is, the location. 34% of called strikes were actually not in the strike zone.
You're winning me over. I hate to admit it. I really do. With the help of Eric Burns, we might get this done. There's Miller in there at 234, and Godley walks him to lead off the fifth, his second walk tonight. Mentioned that Eric Burns had spearheaded a charity drive in which PitchFX would actually call the balls and strikes. Computerized robot umps calling balls and strikes in an independent league game in California. And all raise money for the Pat Tillman Foundation. A great job by Eric Burns there. I think we're supposed to be this week.
I think you're right. Maybe today and tomorrow.
Have to check that.
I thought it was the 28th and 29th. I could be mistaken.
The San Rafael Pacifics of the Independent League world. We're going to host 2 games with Pitch FX. Beeping balls and strikes. Robot umps. Your dream come true.
Well, I'd rather have beeping balls and strikes than bleeping balls and strikes.
Nicely done. Here's Zunino, who just crushed a homer to lead off the third, his 10th of the year. Over the scoreboard and left. Broken bat. Godley ducks. Owings has it. Ahmed turns it. That one almost took Zach's head off. Smashed right back up the middle. And a nice job there by CO and Nick Ahmed to turn 2.
I think initially Zach Godley was just happy he didn't get hit by that line drive, and then his defense behind him turns it into a double play. Nice play, bad hop right at the end. CO stayed with it, and it clears that base runner and fires on to first to complete what appeared to be an easy double play. It was nothing but easy.
Well, those two guys are so good up the middle. And now Owings will go out to right field for Dustin Ackley. The shift is on. Ackley flied out his first time up. There's a look at the overload on the right-hand side. Nick Ahmed all by himself at shortstop.
How about Zach Godley? He's walked 2 Mariner hitters in this game and immediately gotten a double play right after.
That would work. Good way to erase your mistakes.
A.J. Pollock, the 17th overall pick in that 09 draft. We mentioned Dustin Ackley, the 2nd pick. Ackley's had more experience, obviously. Got to the big leagues a little quicker than A.J., but A.J.'s had much more success.
Well, Ackley played almost exclusively second base in the minor leagues. He played first base in college at North Carolina. Played 1 full season here at second, didn't hit. That was 3 years ago, and then he was transitioned into the outfield and really hasn't hit much there either, and now he's basically a platoon outfielder.
And A.J. has developed into a National League All-Star.
It's amazing, isn't it? Bounced over the mound and into center, a base hit for Ackley. Well, he was supposed to be among a group of players here, a young core foundation, guys like Justin Smoke and Jesus Montero and Mike Zunino and Ackley, all people brought in by Jack Zarensic, and none of them, frankly, have worked out. And the Mariners media here has started looking for some accountability from the front office after what's been another disappointing year this season. There were experts, using finger quotes, that some picked the Mariners to go to the World Series. Yes. There were very high expectations here this year. And it's not working out at 46-54, 10 games back in the AL West. Lloyd McClendon, the skipper. Didn't you and Lloyd go toe-to-toe one time?
We had a little bit of a disagreement at home plate one night, yeah.
Now, what was that about again?
Mike DeFelice was catching for us at the time, and Kevin Young of the Pittsburgh Pirates tried to score, and there was a play at the plate, and they got tangled up a little bit, and Kevin Young took exception to Mike DeFelice after the fact, and they got to jawing a little bit, and the bench is cleared, and Lloyd and I ended up standing toe-to-toe at home plate, and he was screaming, "You have a lot more to lose than we do." I said, "You got that right." He wasn't real happy with that answer.
Very diplomatic. He's got a good staff here. Of course, Edgar Martinez, the new hitting coach. Rick Waite's the pitching coach. And your old buddy Rich Donnelly coaching third base.
Yeah, Rich Donnelly, long-time major league coach. Spent most of his time with Jim Leland in Pittsburgh, but boy, it is a tremendous coach. I mean, any aspect of the game you need help with, Rich Donnelly knows something about it.
3-0 on Austin Jackson. He lost him. Third walk issued by Zach Godley tonight.
Now, Rich Donnelly is actually a fellow Buckeye. He's from Steubenville, Ohio, and I told you the story, but I got it wrong the other day. His son was playing high school basketball, and they actually scheduled a game against Coshocton High School, where I grew up and went to high school, and he said they got jobbed by the referees.
those Coshocton refs.
He'll never let me forget that.
Well, gut check time here for Zach Godley. Mel Stoudemire Jr. on the bullpen phone. They're having a ball down there, apparently. 2 on and 2 out for Kyle Seager.
Good to see some smiles down in that bullpen. Might not be the same if you took a shot at the Seattle bullpen. I got a little bit of the pregame show by Lloyd McClendon today, and he said they really need to get some innings out of Iwakuma tonight. A lot of guys down there he'd like to stay away from this evening.
Well, Iwakuma can go deep into ball games. He pitched 112 pitches, in fact, in his last starts. So here's Seager. 0 for 2, 2 on, 2 out. Ackley is the runner at second, and Jackson with good speed at first. Kyle Seager, 274 and 15 homers. He needs to get one big out here. You've got the heart of the order coming up, and Seager red hot. He's hit safely in 16 of his last 17. And batting .370 over that span, including 3 home runs, and Cruz on deck.
18 pitches in the inning. 12 of them out of the zone.
In the air, short right center. A.J. Pollock's under it. And Zach Godley, who's got some big ground ball outs all night long, gets a nice fly ball out right there to strand 2 and keep it a 3-1 Diamondback lead. In part by your Valley Honda dealers, where you'll get more standard features for less money. CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Mix One, great taste, no face, available at local retailers. Beautiful Seattle, Washington, 6th inning at Safeco Field. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, and Jody Jackson with you. Diamondbacks lead the Mariners 3-1 on just a gorgeous night here. And Paul Goldschmidt leads off the 6th against Hisashi Iwakuma. Goldie singled and scored his last time up. He's 1 for 2.
Well, you know we keep track of everything in the game of baseball, partner. When Goldie's on first base and the batter hits a double.
What? Start that again. Here's another base hit for Goldie. What else is new?
Goldie, the runner at first, like he's going to be right now.
Okay.
When the following batter or batter somewhere down the line hits a double, he scored 6 times from first base on a double. That's tied for second in the National League. Only Howie Kendrick has done it more often.
Well, he scored from first on the Peralta double to win the 3rd inning.
And the 2 guys he's tied with, have to consider them burners. Bryce Harper and Matt Carpenter both run extremely well. Let's see David hit a double right here. That's what we're actually leading to.
He doubled his last time up, 2 for 2. The thing about Goldie is he kind of runs like Fred Flintstone drives a car. Remember the Flintstones? Fred would get the feet going, and the feet never really left the ground too much, and everything else just stayed straight. That's kind of the way the Goldie runs. The feet, nothing ever really lifts off the ground.
Low knee action when he runs the bases, but he covers a lot of ground in a hurry.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking for that. Cimino on the pitch out there. But he's the best base runner on the team. Now watch his feet. Nothing ever gets very far off the ground. I mean, can you see? That's Fred Flintstone right there. He and Barney Rubble are driving to work. Coming all the way around from first on a Peralta double in the third.
Yabba dabba do time.
That's right. Mr. Slate, the whole gang. 1-1.
Betty Rubble, very underrated.
Jane, get me off this crazy thing called love. Ooh, base hit right by Goldie. It didn't hit him. Got the save call from Tom Hallion down there.
Wow, that was a bullet.
I don't know how it didn't hit him. It was right at Paul Goldschmidt. He's not scoring from first on that one. Peralta's 3 for 3. Here's a look.
Yikes.
Wow.
Man, good reaction by Goldie just to get out of the way that time. Your first instinct as a runner on contact is to advance on to the next base, but if he'd have kept running, he'd have got hit by that one.
So 2 on, nobody out. Good start to the Arizona 6th, and here's Jared Saltalamacchia. Salty 0 for 2. He has popped up twice. We mentioned last night, Bob, or I should say at the start of this broadcast, that remember last night the Diamondbacks did not have a base hit after the third inning. They scored that run in the 10th on 2 walks, a hit batter, and a fly ball. And so you're looking for some consistent offense here, 1 through 9, not just a few hits in the first 2 innings. So a good start to the 6th here. By the way, I'm told, you mentioned the robot umps, just to follow up, that the Eric Burns charity game for the Pat Tillman Foundation in San Rafael, right? California, the Pacifics?
San Rafael.
San Rafael, sorry. That game is tonight with the robot umps.
Like it.
I don't get to vacation in those fabulous Pacific spots like you guys do.
Well, the only reason I know that, I've told you before, my old roomie Max Venable lives in San Rafael.
Will Venable's dad.
Yep.
The San Rafael Pacifics, independent ball. Pitch FX. Robot umps calling balls and strikes. And a great job there by Eric Burns. He's donating money for every ball or strike to the Pat Tillman Foundation. And any player or manager ejected for arguing balls and strikes, that's a $10,000 fine donated to the Pat Tillman Foundation. As Iwakuma rings up Saltalamacchia.
Who would you argue with?
Good point. And this guy can really dot the strike zone.
Almost the same location, just a little higher, a little lower, but all right on that outside corner.
Well, here's your chance, BB, for Jake Lamb's big hit. This is the spot right here. 2 on, 1 out, 3-1 game. The hometown boy. He has walked and struck out 0 for 1.
Good time to hit a non-solo home run right here. A couple teammates on board.
Blasted into right, a base hit. Andy Green going to stop Goldie at third, and they're loaded. Hit too hard out there to Seth Smith to give Goldschmidt a chance to come around. Third single in the inning for the Diamondbacks. They're loaded with 1 out.
Oh, just clobbered that slow breaking ball. He saw one earlier in the ball game, took it for a called strike. He was ready for it this time. Ripped it into right field to Seth Smith so hard that Goldie could not score.
Does Jake look like his dad or what?
Yes, he does.
a chance to break this game wide open here. Bases full, 1 out for Chris Owings, who's 0 for 2. Goldie is the runner at third, Peralta at second, and Lamb at first. And the Mariners outfielders will come way in here. This is the opposite of a no doubles defense. Try and cut down Peralta at home on a base hit. Playing shallow all the way across. Base hit for Chris Owings. Here comes Goldie. They're waving Peralta. Here's the throw from Smith. It's offline. Iwakuma backs it up, and it's a 2-run single for Chris Owings and a 5-1 D-backs lead. Bob, you hungry? How about some fish tacos?
Oh, whatever. I'll take that Taco Bell deal. Diamondbacks with a 5 spot on the board.
Big hit for CO.
Huge hit. Diamondbacks have been 0 for 9 in their last 10 plate appearances with the bases loaded. 6 strikeouts, 6 double plays. Is that no? 1 grounded into double play.
Comes Rick Waits, the pitching coach, out with an interpreter to talk to Hisashi Iwakuma, who's at 90 pitches right now. 58 for strikes. Bullpen is busy. For Seattle, David Rollins, the left-hander. Four Diamondbacks singles in this inning. They lead at 5-1. Iwakuma, his last time out at Detroit, 112 pitches, his high for the year.
Diamondbacks actually scored more runs on that at bat by Chris Owings with the bases loaded than they did in their previous 10 with the bases loaded.
Chance to add to it now. Lamb at second, Owings at first. Still only 1 out. Oscar Hernandez 0 for 2. They have got to Hisashi Iwakuma here in the 6th. He has been a very good pitcher during 4 seasons here in Seattle. 2 years ago, won 14 games at a 2.66 ERA, nearly 220 innings. He was an all-star and finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting. Last year, a 15-game winner. So this year, slowed by injuries. Ahead of Hernandez, 0-2.
You go back to the 2012 and 2013 season combined. There's only 5 starting pitchers in Major League Baseball that had an ERA under 3, and Iwakuma was one of them.
He's been a very much an under-the-radar guy. Oscar is out in front of that one, knocks it foul.
You could win some bar bets on this one. I mean, a couple of the names. Clayton Kershaw is first with a 2.17 ERA combined between 2012 and 2013. David Price on the list in 4th place, 2.92 ERA. Bartolo Colon at 2.99, just gets in under 3. But Iwakuma and Chris Medlin are the other 2 pitchers.
Yeah, you're not getting those 2 guys.
No.
See what Oscar can do here, down 0-2. Iwakuma did not pitch in the U.S. until he was 31. That was 2012. Pitched parts of 11 seasons with Japan. Debuted with the Kintetsu Buffaloes as a 20-year-old in 2001. Also pitched for the Rakuten Golden Eagles, both teams in the Pacific League. Hernandez strikes out, 2 down.
Brings up Nick Ahmed, who's 0 for 2. A chance for Nick here. He has grounded out and popped out. Fly ball, left center field. That one's drifting. Austin Jackson looking at it, and it one-hops the wall. Jake Lamb will come in and score to make it 6-1 Diamondbacks. Owings has to stop at third, an RBI for Nick Ahmed. That one carried out to the deepest part of the ballpark. A ground rule double.
Middle of the plate fastball. That tailing action brought it right back onto the barrel of Nick's bat. Just missed a home run. We mentioned as the evening wears on here, the air gets a little heavier. The ball doesn't carry quite as well.
And that's going to do it for Hisashi Iwakuma. Diamondbacks lead at 6-1 back from Seattle after this. Tonight on Fox Sports Live on Fox Sports 1, 14 other Major League games, including David Price on the mound in Tampa. Where Tampa, you got it, but will this be his last game for the Tigers? We'll have you updated on all the big moves. Jonathan Papelbon traded by the Phillies today. Plus Tommy Brady's suspension upheld. Oh, it's an outrage. Disregard.
Travesty.
Disregard. We'll explain tonight on Fox Sports Live, Fox Sports 1, the whole thing. Here's the left-hander, David Rollins, on to face Ender Inciarte. The 8th man to hit in this inning for the Diamondbacks, and he homered his last time up. The numbers on Rollins, a Rule 5 pick, acquired from the Houston Astros. And it's not worked out all that well. He's allowed 3 earned runs, or pardon me, he has allowed at least 1 earned run in his last 3 appearances. Made his Major League debut earlier this month. This was Inciarte with 2 outs in the 5th.
Boom. Boy, that's a nice quick swing. Generates a lot of power for a little guy.
And down 0-2. Tapper, Rollins is on it. He's going to have to beat Ender to the bag here. And he does. Diamondbacks strand 2, but they get 3. Chris Owings has the big hit, a 2-run single. Ahmed follows with an RBI double. It's 6-1 Diamondbacks.
6-1 lead as he opens up the 6th inning here. So far he's given up only 1 run on 4 hits. He has walked 3. He's got 2 strikeouts. Nelson Cruz leads it off for the Mariners. And he blasts one way out of here to left. Gone. Holy cow. Nelson Cruz now with an 8-game hitting streak. And he's got 5 homers during that 8-game streak. That's right where Zunino hit his earlier in the ball game.
It looked like a cutter that just kind of stayed in the middle of the plate. That pitch has been very consistent for Zach Godley. Even when his other pitches have missed the zone, he's been able to throw that cutter in and around the outside corner of the plate. That time just bit off way too much of the big part.
Well, Zunino, who led off the 3rd for the homer, as Cano steps up. Hit it to almost the same spot, and we're told the Zunino homer was 454 feet. That one might have been longer. And the Zunino homer, which was hit to that spot, 454, the longest Mariner homer since the great Willie Mo Pena back in 2011. Willie Mo. And I think Cruz might have beat both of them with that one. 0-2 on Cano. Tell you what, Nelson Cruz now with 26 home runs this year. That was just his 7th in this ballpark. We're told 440. So he came up 14 feet shy of Zunino as Godley bounces back and strikes out Cano.
Well, that's good to see. Jump right back in that zone. Good pitches down. Got Cano to chase a changeup there to end that sequence.
I guess it's one thing to always be told you got to keep it down. You got to keep it down. But maybe occasionally, especially with a lead like this, Bob, if you leave 1 or 2 pitches up, maybe it sort of accelerates the learning process. Ooh, don't do that again. Because you find out what happens when you don't keep it down.
You don't need to tell him why you don't want to elevate those pitches, because Nelson Cruz just showed him why.
Seth Smith has grounded out twice. One's into a double play. There's a strike. 0-1. Nelson Cruz has these bats, the boomstick, and they're aptly named. One and two.
I like the pace for Zach Godley as well. We talked about it a little bit in his first start, but no wasted time. He's ready to go. The hitter sometimes dawdles before getting back in the box, but Zach Godley's ready to throw that next pitch.
And Seth Smith knocks it into center. Here are the 2 home runs. Zunino in the 3rd and Cruz in the 6th, both to lead off the innings. Check the location. This is where they land here. Zunino on the left, 454. Cruz on the right, 440. I mean, almost in the same spot. Are the Yankees really beating the Rangers 21-5?
Yeah, wait till you hear this. That's the final. Yeah, the Yankees won that one 21-5.
Wow. Trumbo lines it right to Owings, 2 down.
The Rangers scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 1st to take a 5-0 lead over the Yankees. The Yankees scored 21 unanswered runs.
That Ranger bullpen is not good.
Yeah, Martin Perez got through the 1st inning unscathed, but in the 2nd inning gave up 8 runs on 7 hits. Didn't walk a batter, didn't give up a home run.
Andrew Chafin, who got the save last night, is 2nd of the year, is warming up. Diamondbacks are without Randall Delgado. He was injured, turned an ankle running some agility drills in the outfield earlier this afternoon, so
They already went down to a 7-man bullpen when they took Salty off the DL and sent Leon to Mobile. And now they're even more shorthanded with no Delgado tonight. And we're still not sure of the severity of the ankle injury for Delgado. We don't think it's all that serious. Brad Miller.
There's one other footnote. Didi Gregorius went 4 for 5 with 3 runs driven in that Yankee game. Here was Randall Delgado, well, working out in the outfield like they do every day. Some agility drills, and down goes Frazier. Just turned an ankle, rolled over on it.
And he had to be carried off the field. He went down, right there, clutching that ankle. And it looked bad for a while, but we are told they don't think it's more than a day or two. Miller knocks it the other way into the left field corner. Peralta in there to dig it out. And here comes Smith flying around third. He will score. And it's a 6-3 ball game. RBI double for Brad Miller, the shortstop.
And Diamondbacks may have had a shot at Seth Smith at home plate right there. Smith does not run particularly well, but David had a little trouble digging it out of the corner, and then unfortunately overthrew the cutoff man, eliminating any possibility of cutting that run off at the plate.
So Godley started off the inning with a 6-1 lead, a homer by Cruz, a single by Smith, a double by Miller, and suddenly it's a 6-3 ball game. And Godley at 90 pitches. 50 for strikes. You'd like to see him be able to get through this inning. They've got Zunino coming up. Ackley, the left-hander, is on deck. He would be next, and you've got the lefty Chafin up in the Diamondback bullpen. So here's Mike Zunino. His home run in the third, 454 feet, his 10th of the year. He hit into a double play his last time. Zunino's homer extended his hitting streak. It's now at 8 straight games, a career high. Godley ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. This was Zunino to lead off the third. He might be hitting a $180, but he has genuine power. 22 homers last year. Chafin still throwing in the Diamondback bullpen. A swing and a miss, and there's the strikeout. Godley's 4th, and that ends the 6th inning. But the Mariners get 2. We go to the 7th. It's a 6-3 Diamondback lead.
looking for some more Diamondback offense tonight, and they have had it throughout the ball game. David Peralta, the RBI single in the first, the RBI double in the third. And the Diamondbacks have spread the hitting out over the course of the ball game. Ender Inciarte, his third home run of the year, that's in the fifth. And then Chris Owings, 1 inning after that, the 2-run single. Diamondbacks with 6 runs on 10 hits. They have out-hit Seattle 10-7 and lead at 6-3 as we start the 7th at Safeco Field. Zach Godley, a couple of bumps in the road here, a couple of long home runs surrendered. 3 earned on 7 hits and 6. He walked 3, struck out 4, and had 2 double plays turned behind him. A.J. Pollock will lead off the Diamondbacks 7th. The left-hander David Rollins still out there. There's ball 1. Rollins did not make his major league debut until July 4th at Oakland this year. He was reinstated from the restricted list. Rollins popped up. Zunino near the on-deck circle. No way. Rollins on the restricted list following a suspension for a violation of Major League Baseball's Joint Drug Prevention and Treatment Program. So he's been back less than a month. Here's Goldie, who's 2 for 3. A pair of singles, he scored twice. All-Star break was hitting under 240 in July. He had a slow couple of weeks there. We talked about how he looked tired, a little sluggish. Well, now not so much. He's batting .314 in July, and he's got 2 hits tonight. Miller at shortstop, 2 down.
Sometimes going to a ballpark that you're not that familiar with against a team that you don't know a lot about can kind of re-energize you. Get back into the advance reports, get back into the video scouting again. And certainly the weather here is absolutely perfect for playing baseball. I mean, you have to work hard to break a sweat in this weather.
It is gorgeous. David Peralta 3 for 3. 2 singles, a double, 2 RBIs. And the weather tomorrow is supposed to be even warmer and sunnier. For the afternoon game here, the series finale getaway day, Patrick Corbin and Felix Hernandez. King Felix's court will be out in full effect with everything open here at Safeco Field. That's a radio-only game, no TV on that tomorrow. First pitch at 12:40, the Governor. Greg Schulte along with J.J. Putz on the radio side. Arizona Federal Credit Union Power Player of the Game, David Peralta, having a big night.
It's been fun to watch David Peralta early in the season and last season, really struggling against left-handed pitching. Then had the opportunity to play on a regular basis when Ender Inciarte was on the DL. Got a lot of at-bats against left-handed pitching, including sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 at-bats against the starter. And his quality of at-bats against lefties is much improved since that opportunity.
Well, he's worked the count full here, 3-2. And he works a 2-out walk. On base for the 4th time tonight, David Peralta. Jared Saltalamacchia now, the switch hitter, will turn around and bat right-handed against Rollins. Diamondback Live post-game show follows our ball game. Salty 0 for 3.
Talking about David Peralta, assistant hitting coach Mark Gray said the at-bats that he had against the left-handers while Ender was on the DL have improved his approach against right-handed pitching as well. You know, everything stays together. That front shoulder stays closed. We've seen a lot of opposite field hits from David Peralta over the last 3 weeks since the All-Star break.
Gracie down there taking notes. Funny how he's got that pine tar right in the middle on that bat. Nothing on the handle, just all over the trademark. Three 3-0. Marlins cannot find the strike zone. You don't grip the middle of the bat unless you're Felix Millan.
You kind of put your hand in there and dip it into the pine tar.
David Peralta slide. Literally walks into second base with a stolen base. That's number 5 on the year for David.
I like the thought running on a 3-0 count. I've always thought that's a great count to run on because nobody pays any attention. Everybody just assumes, okay, he's going to throw a strike here and then it'll be 3-1 and the inning will continue.
Now it's 3-2 as Salty swings through that one.
But slide. I tell you, break ankles.
Three and two. He strands the 2-out walk. Stretch time at Safeco Field. Diamondbacks lead the Mariners 6-3. Here comes Andrew Chafin. August 8th to pay tribute to Randy Johnson when the Diamondbacks retire his number 51 jersey. All fans with us in that ball game get this commemorative t-shirt courtesy of Fry's Food Stores. Get your tickets right now at dbacks.com. We'll see you at Chase Field August 8th as number 51 gets put up in the rafters. 6-3 Diamondbacks as we start the bottom of the 7th, and as promised earlier in the ball game, Leo Gilmartin, fingers crossed, there is Leo behind J.J. Putz, and look up to Greg Schulte on the radio side, has selected our AZ Data Strong fan photo, courtesy of T-Mobile, and there is the Randy Johnson photo.
I think Bill has been airbrushed in there.
I hate to say it, but I think Leo might have gotten this one right.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, so Leo has bounced back here. Our AZ Data Strong fan photo brought to you by T-Mobile. Andrew Chafin, who got the save in last night's ball game, back out there for the second night in a row. Andrew threw 18 pitches last night. And his second big league save. Dustin Ackley leads it off for the Mariners.
I mentioned a couple of innings ago that Lloyd McClendon was hoping to get some length out of his starter because he said he had more than a couple guys in the bullpen he wanted to stay away from. And being an American League game with the designated hitter, no issues with that.
Great play by Goldie there to snare that one down the first base line.
And that's a 9 spot in the order right there, and he probably would have had to hit for his pitcher Rollins and go to the bullpen once again, but doesn't look like anybody's warming up in that Mariners bullpen right now. He's just going to continue to roll with the young left-hander, try to get as much length as he can out of him and save the rest of the bullpen.
Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson played his first 4.5 seasons with the Tigers. Arrived in Seattle at the deadline last year. He's hit about .240 with Seattle. 1-2. It's the strikeout. Quickly 2 down for Chafin. And here's Kyle Seager.
It seems appropriate that Chafin follows Godley here tonight. The two of them very similar in their approach to pitching. Very aggressive out there on the mound.
That was one of the comps that we got with Zach Godley. And it's more of a body language thing. I mean, they have the same look out there. And the same kind of attitude. Mound presence is a term you hear a lot. Seager so far 0 for 3. He's got a 7-game hitting streak on the line. .273 and 15 home runs. This guy an all-star and a Gold Glover at third base last year. And in December, the Mariners locked him up long-term, Kyle Seager. 7 years, $100 million. And he really is a guy who's gotten better every year. Each season, the last 3 seasons, the batting average, the home run total, the OPS have gone up. And he's turned himself into a Gold Glove defender at third as well. He actually played with Dustin Ackley at North Carolina. Ackley was the star. But here in the big leagues, it's Seager who's got the $100 million contract.
Nice off-speed pitch that time by Andrew Chafin. I don't think he throws hard, but occasionally he'll get underneath that slider, make it a little bit more of a slurvy breaking ball. Kind of use it as an off-speed pitch.
He strikes out Seager. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Andrew Chafin. Works a 1-2-3 inning. Here's what's next. It's brought to you by CenturyLink. Chris Owings, a 2-run single his last time up. We'll see CO in the Diamondback 8th. was the Cox Gig Life high-speed highlight. Safeco Field in Seattle. Steve Berthune, Bob Brenly, Jody Jackson with you. Diamondbacks lead the Mariners 6-3 as the Seattle native Jake Lamb leads off the 8th. David Rollins still out there for Seattle. Jake has walked and singled tonight, 1 for 2. This is away. It's even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Lamb, Owings, and Oscar Hernandez 6, 7, and 8 in the Diamondbacks 8th. David Hernandez has started warming up with the D-backs bullpen. 3-2. Tell you what, Jake's already walked 3 times in this series. Full count here to lead off the 8th. Drives it into right, a base hit. Second hit tonight for Jake Lamb in front of a whole flock of lambs in the Safeco Field stands. Mom and Dad here, friends and family.
Jake Lamb making like Paul Goldschmidt, went from 0-2 to 3-2 and then ripped one into right field for a leadoff base hit here in the 8th.
And the big RBI in the 10th on that sac fly last night that proved to be the difference in the 4-3 Diamondback win. 2 singles and a walk here tonight. Chris Owings last time up, a big 2-run single. That was the hit that really broke it open. Diamondbacks at one point led the ball game 6-1. Seattle responded with 2 in the bottom of the 6th. 2-0. And CO counting tonight 12 hits in his last 13 games, including 6 RBIs. David Hernandez will get the 8th. He's got Cruz, Cano, and Smith due up 3, 4, and 5. Zach Godley tonight, 3 runs, all earned on 7 hits. He went 6 innings. Walked 3, struck out 4, and gave up 2 home runs. 94 pitches, 54 strikes. And in line for his 2nd major league win in as many starts. Rollins looks like he's really fighting it right here. Another left-hander is up for Seattle. Joe Beimel is throwing in the Mariner bullpen. 31 outings this year for Beimel, 21 scoreless. Owings ahead, 3 balls and a strike. So Rollins has worked 3-ball counts on the first 2 batters in this 8th inning. High strike call there from Quinn Walcott, and it's full 3-2. That one looked like it was up. Yeah. So another full count for Rollins. Lamb holds it first, and Owings fouls it back in.
Macio's got a huge hole on that right side of the infield to work with. Now, granted, he does have 2 strikes. He's got to protect the plate and swing at anything close to that zone. But if he gets a pitch from the middle of the plate away, it seems like you could just roll it through that right side.
Trumbo holding Lamb on the bag at first. Cano shaded toward the second base bag. Another 3-2 to Chris Owings. There goes Jake Lamb. That is ball 4. So the first 2 have reached for the Diamondbacks in the 8th. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game comes from the Indians-Royals game. Watch this play.
Up the middle. And it's good.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Omar Infante, Alcides Escobar, Eric Hosmer. Not your routine 4-6-3. Our Chaz Roberts air conditioning cool play of the game from the Royals. I think they got Ben Zobrist today, didn't they?
Yeah, yes, they did.
So they got Johnny Cueto and Ben Zobrist, and they already are leading their division. They are, for me, the team to beat in the postseason in either league. Chance for Oscar Hernandez here. 2 on, nobody out. He's 0 for 3. And Oscar bunts it to third. It's a good one. Seager has one play. The runners move up. Nice job by the rookie.
Been a little bit of a struggle at the plate for Oscar recently, but that has to feel good. An opportunity to do something productive, move a couple of runners into scoring position for Nick Ahmed in the top of the order. Nicely done.
Here comes Lloyd McClendon. You've got Ahmed coming up. He's had a lefty warming up. And that's going to be it, it appears, for David Rollins. He will take the baseball. Diamondbacks have another threat going here. Second and third, 1 out. Back after this. Fox Sports Arizona is brought to you in part by Oregano's Pizza Bistro, your neighborhood pizza joint. We are athletic supporters. And by Card Power from Arizona Federal Credit Union. Now that's the power of us. Roof open here in downtown Seattle. Safeco Field. Diamondbacks have a 6-3 lead in the 8th inning and threatening more here. Second and third, 1 out. The new pitcher for the Mariners is the left-hander Joe Beidel. Back from AAA Tacoma at the beginning of May, and he's done a good job. 31 appearances, a 2.90 ERA. He'll work to Nick Ahmed with Jake Lamb at third and Chris Owings at second. 1 away. D-backs have out hit the Mariners 11-7. They lead at 6-3 and looking to add to that lead right here. Infield in for Seattle. And Ahmed lifts it up in the air to Seth Smith in deep right field. This will score Lamb, who comes in from third. Owings heads for second, and it's 7-3 Diamondbacks. An RBI for Ahmed is second tonight. Take a look at our State Farm Farm Report of the game. Mitch Haniger, who the Diamondbacks acquired in the Gerardo Parra deal from Milwaukee, playing for Class A Visalia. A home run yesterday, hitting .306 with 9 homers this year. Ender Inciarte homered back in the 5th, his 3rd of the year.
Of course, as many numbers as we throw around in the game of baseball, one that we don't is a half an RBI, which I think Oscar Hernandez should get for that perfect sacrifice bunt.
I can't. Then guys would have 25.5 RBIs. Come on.
Well, but it was a nice job by Oscar. Put that bunt in a perfect spot to move the 2 runners up, and Nick Ahmed lofts that fly ball into right field to drive him home.
I tell you what, we get you in office if Rob Manfred ever decides to retire. It shudders. I shudder to think of what we'll end up with. Robot umps, half RBIs. Got anything else in your bag of tricks?
Clevelander at every ballpark.
Well, that I can't argue with.
A roof on every ballpark.
Can't argue with that one either. I'd settle for just one in Colorado.
Yeah, no kidding.
Two and one on Inciarte. With Owings at third. Base hit for Ender. 8-3 Diamondbacks. Well, Bob, we asked for it at the top of the show, some offense, and the Diamondbacks have delivered 8 runs on 12 hits.
Boy, and you really like the approach of just about every hitter in the lineup today, willing to take the ball to the opposite field. Ender Inciarte pulled a long home run to right field back in the 5th, but this time stays on a pitch low and away from a left-handed pitcher and drives home a run with a clean single into left field.
Lamb led off the inning with a single. Owings a walk after that. They have both scored now. Ender at first, 2 outs for A.J. Pollock. A.J. singled and scored in the 1st. He's 1 for 4. Popped it up first base side. Trumbo in foul ground. Mark has room. Nope. And has scored no play.
He overran it as he got over there. Robbie Cano didn't want anything to do with that ball. As usual, just jogging over there from his position at second base, and that one drops untouched. Another chance for A.J. Pollock. How about this? We've had an update now from our friends at HitTrackerOnline.com, which is a very good resource for the exact measurement of some home run balls. It's always a guess, but these guys have a system. It's all computers, lasers, the whole thing. Lasers. 2-1 to Pollock. An update now. The Nelson Cruz homer for the Mariners, which was in the 6th inning, 455 feet. The Zunino homer, which was almost to the same spot in the 3rd inning, 454 feet. Which has to be right because they went to almost the same spot. There was a 14-foot difference earlier. But HitTrackerOnline.com. And they pick off Inciarte, and he's holding his elbow. Ender holding that right elbow down to the first base bag. You could hear the sound from up here. And I got to check on Ender Inciarte here. Diamondbacks have had their share of sore elbows lately. And it looks like he's all right.
A scary moment for the Diamondbacks after Wellington Castillo's been plunked twice in the same spot on the left elbow. Now Ender walks away shaking that right elbow. But the Diamondbacks pad their lead. They lead at 8-3 back after this. Angels and the Dodgers in a game you can only see on Fox Sports 1. Coverage begins at 12:30 Pacific time on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. David Hernandez out there to pitch the 8th inning for the Diamondbacks. Nelson Cruz, Robinson Cano, and Seth Smith. 3, 4, and 5 due up for Seattle. Cruz last time up hit a ball 455 feet. For his 26th home run of the year. Numbers on David Hernandez. Cruz's homer extended his hit streak to now 8 games, and he's got 5 home runs during that 8-game hitting streak. Jake Lamb at third. Away. Hey, D-backs fans, we are excited to introduce to you new from Pepsi, Pepsi Limon. It's made with 2% real lime juice for a little bit of lime and a whole lot of flavor. Pepsi Limon. Pick up yours today. Now available at your local retailer. Robbie Cano, don't you know? 0 for 2 with a walk. Cano's got an 8-game hitting streak on the line here. He is batting nearly .350 in July. He's got 7 home runs this month. In fact, the Red Sox Xander Bogaerts is the only player in the majors with more hits in July than Robinson Cano. But hitless so far here tonight. 0-2. Hernandez throwing hard, 96.
Change after last night's ball game and before today's. You see Seth Smith in the on deck circle. I use that term lightly because most of the Mariners hitters stand in the grass, and the grounds crew actually had to come out. You may be able to tell the area that they had to patch because of a number of the Mariners hitters standing out there in the grass taking their warm-up swings instead of on the warning track or in that on deck circle.
Now, if you don't want to stand in the circle, I get it because it gets a little slick when you have cleats on, but why not just on the dirt?
Well, they said Nelson Cruz was the first one to creep out there onto the grass, and it seems like a lot of his teammates have followed suit, and the grounds crew had to patch that area of the field before the ball game today.
Hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Bobby Cano, a fly ball to center. AJ's there. 2 down. Cano 0 for 3. Here is Seth Smith. Well, he doesn't have to walk far to the plate. He was right there.
I mean, we used to see Todd Helton and other hitters try to get around as close to behind the umpire as they could so they could see the movement on the pitches. They could see the release point of the pitcher. And every now and then the umpire would turn around and chase him back to the on-deck circle. But I don't think there's any real advantage to be gained by standing on the grass just a couple feet in front of where you should be standing.
Mark Trumbo respects the lawn. David spiked that one. Smith singled and scored his last time up. He's 1 for 3. This one got away from him.
96 in the dirt.
Quinn
Everybody bailing.
There.
Yeah.
Run for your life. Wolcott could see that one coming right for his shin. So far, so good for the D-backs bullpen. Andrew Chafin, terrific, a 1-2-3-7 with 2 strikeouts, and Hernandez 2 quick outs here in the 8th. Elevated fastball, and Smith chases 2-1. Diamondbacks have the shift on here.
Fastball command hasn't been great for David, but getting good results because he's throwing in the mid to upper 90s. 95 on that last fastball up there around the letters.
Slightly different look to this D-back shift. It looks like that's Nick Ahmed behind the second base pen. And Lamb at shortstop. Usually for the Diamondbacks, the third baseman goes over and plays in the second base spot, but they leave Lamb over there short, and Ahmed out there with second base umpire Alfonso Marquez.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the possibility of the batter bunting. Yeah, that's when we've seen Nick Ahmed play on the left side all alone.
This is a high fly ball, deep right center field. Inciarte and Pollock at the wall, and AJ's got it. It's a big ballpark here, a little too big for Seth Smith. Hernandez a 1-2-3-8. Diamondbacks lead it 8-3.
.70, a nightmare for catcher Tom Egan. He's charged with 5 passed balls and commits an error, allowing the winning run to score in a 6-5 loss to the Yankees. That's a rough day. Tom Egan, a career 200 hitter in the major leagues. He's tried to forget that one for years.
New pitcher for the Mariners. It's the right-hander Todd Wilhelmsen. A 4.35 ERA for Tom Wilhelmsen, his 27th appearance of the year.
32 punch outs in 31 innings of work, although opponents have hit .303 against the big right-hander.
A.J. Pollock was up there when Ender Inciarte was picked off first to win the 8th. They'll lead off the 9th. So Pollock, Goldie, Peralta, 2, 3, and 4. For the Diamondbacks, who have out-hit the Mariners 12-7 and lead at 8-3.
A lot of offense for the Diamondbacks tonight, up and down the lineup. But you look back to that first inning, and A.J. Pollock, kind of a tone setter tonight. Got that base hit with 1 out in the first, promptly stole second base against Iwakuma, a guy that just didn't surrender very many stolen bases, and later came around to score on the David Peralta base hit to left field. But it's been pretty apparent in this series that Lloyd McClendon is concerned about the Diamondbacks running game. They pitched out a couple of times. They've thrown over to first numerous times. Element of speed changes everything.
2-1. AJ's stolen base is 23rd of the year. Peralta also had a stolen base back in the 7th, his 5th. Three and 1 now. Josh Colemanter warming up with the Diamondback bullpen. Looks like he'll get the 9th. There's a strike, 3-2. Same two teams tomorrow, getaway day, a matinee here at Safeco Field, no TV. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in True HD and over 400 mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. They'll get real-time highlights, live look-ins, the pitch tracking widget, and a whole lot more every night, every device, the whole thing. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Check MLB.TV for details. Radio only tomorrow. Greg Schulte and J.J. Putz on the radio side. A 12:40 first pitch. Patrick Corbin and Felix Hernandez. And the King Felix starts are a big deal here in Seattle as Pollock draws the leadoff walk. They call it Felix Day. You wish everybody a happy Felix Day. It's like a holiday every time he pitches. And the King's court is out there. They all wear the yellow T-shirts and have those big K cards. It's a whole big deal. After that game, the Diamondbacks are off to Houston. Off day on Thursday. First of 3 against the Astros. Starting on Friday. Ruby De La Rosa pitches that game. Goldie lifts this in the air deep to center field. Jackson at the wall. He's got it. And that's allowed out number 1 here in the 9th.
Yeah, a couple hours too late, Goldie. You can just feel the temperature dropping here. It's a little bit cooler. The air feels a little bit heavier. That ball just did not carry the way they were earlier in the ball game.
So here's Peralta, who has reached base safely all 4 times he's been up there. 2 singles, a double, a walk. 2 RBIs. He scored a run. There's a strike, 1-1.
We always try to point out the opponents that are from the state of Arizona, and Tom Williamson, excuse me, born down in Tucson, went to Tucson High School, makes his home in Peoria, Arizona.
In the seats. And as we mentioned earlier, Colemanter will get the 9th here. After Andrew Chafin worked a 1-2-3 7th, and Hernandez, who looked very good, a 1-2-3 8th. 0-2 on Peralta. Diamondbacks have had at least 1 base runner in every inning tonight except the 4th. And they have scored in 5 of the 8 innings so far. And Pollock aboard to lead off the 9th.
2-2. I tell you what, Bob, I am a Safeco Field fan. This is a wonderful facility. Now, granted, we have had perfect weather. I mean, it has just been gorgeous. And it's supposed to be beautiful again tomorrow, but this is a wonderful ballpark. In a great area right off Pioneer Square. A lot to do around here. Great neighborhood. The football stadium is right next door, but it doesn't have that feel of a stadium complex like you see in, I don't know, Philadelphia or Kansas City, someplace like that.
It's because there's not acres and acres of concrete parking lots surrounding these two stadiums. A lot of people walk here from the downtown area for ball games.
2-2. That's very accessible. A lot of highways around here. Public transportation.
Yeah, they're averaging just under 30,000 fans per game here at home this year.
And what has been a disappointing season, they had high expectations. 25,106 with us here tonight. Wilhelmsen's already walked one in the inning. 3-2 to Peralta. AJ holds it first, and David strikes out. Brings up Jared Saltalamacchia. They finally figure out a way to retire Peralta tonight. Salty 0 for 4. He has struck out twice. Kept an eye on the trade deadline today. A lot of rumors flying around out there, and some trades actually pulled off. Jonathan Papelbon goes from the Phillies to the Nationals. Ben Zobrist from the Oakland A's to the Kansas City Royals. Those are the biggies, right?
Yeah.
And the trade deadline is on Friday.
I still think Ben Zobrist should be in the National League. What a good piece he would have to have on a team in the National League. Can play anywhere on the field.
Little nubber in front of the mound. Zunino is on it, and he throws out Saltalamacchia. Beautiful downtown Seattle on a lovely night. Diamondbacks having a grand old time. They lead at 8-3. Bottom 9 coming up. Here with us at Safeco Field. Diamondbacks lead the Mariners 8-3 as we take a look at the rest of this road trip coming up. Let's go places, brought to you by your Valley Toyota dealer. After Seattle, it's off to Houston for 3 and then Washington, D.C. for 4. An off day on Thursday, day game tomorrow. Play at, what is it? It's Minute Maid Park now, right? With the Oranges and the whole thing, yeah. This weekend, and then 4 at Nats Park next week.
A couple of first place teams, at least as of right now.
Josh Colmenter will work the 9th. Yeah, the Nationals will bring in Papelbon to be their closer. Drew Storen, they say, will now be the setup guy. Every time the Nationals are ready for a postseason run, they call Drew Storen into the office and say, well,
You're going to be the setup guy now.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Here's Mark Trumbo to lead off the Seattle ninth. Mark singled in the second. He's 1 for 3. Counting tonight, Mark has played 42 games now with Seattle and has 13 RBIs and on base percentage below 270. So it's taking him a while to get going here. But he fit the profile of the type of hitter the Mariners have been trying to get and put in this ballpark, which is a guy who not just has power, but a guy who has big time power, because here, when you've got to get the ball up in the air, you need to hit the ball far in the air and get it to stay in the air for a long time, because it's a big ballpark. And he has one of those types of bats. It's about the exit velocity of the ball off the bat, and he fits that mold. A guy they just have not been able to get here. Now, they gave Nelson Cruz a whole bunch of money, more than $50 million, to come here and be that guy. But Trumbo represents the type of player they've tried for years to bring in here. But this is not a ballpark to which hitters flock.
No.
So they have to figure out ways around that. So they went out and got Mark Trumbo.
The Diamondbacks were kind of hoping Mark Trumbo would be that guy as well.
Yeah. But Mark really struggled with the Mariners following the deal. That was the first week of June. First 22 games, he hit under $140, only 2 extra base hits. Had a nice run earlier this month. But struggling once again here. 2-2.
You see Josh Coleman trying to stay up in the zone to Mark Trumbo. We know he's a real good low ball hitter. That's where most of his power comes from. Pitches down there around the knees, occasionally even lower. So Josh trying to elevate this entire at bat.
Reaches down and lifts it into left. That's a fair ball. And it rolls all the way to the wall. David Peralta over there to fish it out, and Mark Trumbo has his 16th double. And that's Mark's 5th hit in this series.
Got a change up from Josh Coleman. Not a bad pitch. You see Oscar Hernandez reaching across to pick that one out of the dirt, and Trumbo just gets it on the end of the bat, hooks it down into that left field corner for a double.
Brings up Brad Miller, the shortstop. He has walked and doubled. Got an RBI. Mention that there is no TV on the game tomorrow. Patrick Corbin versus King Felix Hernandez at 12:40 first pitch, radio only. So this is our last chance tonight, Bob, to thank our excellent Seattle-based crew. They've been a wonderful host and done a terrific job for us. Especially Aileen and Todd in the tape room. Guys, thank you very much. And the whole staff here. Miller slams this one deep to right. And it's off the base of the wall. This will bring home Trumbo. And Miller settles for a long RBI single. It's 8-4. The second RBI hit tonight for Brad Miller.
Ender Inciarte played that ball extremely well off the padding out there in right field. They may have had a shot at Mark Trumbo at home plate, but with a 5-run lead in the ball game, just get it back in, try to hold that guy to first base, which is what Ender was able to do. Nick Ahmed got the throw from Ender Inciarte and took a quick peek at home plate, but by then it was too late.
Brad Ziegler, who was off last night after pitching 3 consecutive days in the Brewers series, is up in the Diamondback bullpen. You really would have liked to have given him the night off, even from warming up, but here comes Mike Harkey now to slow things down. Chafin a 1-2-3 7th. David Hernandez a 1-2-3 8th, but Josh Coleman has given up a single and a double to 2 batters so far. Let's go to Jody.
Well, recharged after the night off, but Chip Hale was pretty adamant before yesterday's game with Ziegler going 3 nights in a row that he was going to be off last night, only used in emergency extra innings. So even though it went 10, Ziegler was off. And guys, he said a lot of times it's not his arm, it's the knee. He's still rehabbing that knee after surgery.
That microfracture surgery on that front knee, that plant leg that had Brad rehabbing all winter long. Mike Zunino. A homer in the third. That went about 450 feet. His 10th of the year. Tied him up inside there. And it's 0-2.
There's no question Zunino has big time power. We saw that earlier in the ball game, but he can swing and miss with the best of them. 110 strikeouts already this season after 158 last year.
And his batting average has spent the better part of this year in the 160s. The power's always been there, but he rarely makes contact. Although the bat has been much more active lately with the work of hitting coach Edgar Martinez. Case in point, he strikes out, 1 down. He just walked away, cursing Josh Colmenter for that deceptive delivery. Watch Zunino's reaction. Are you kidding me with that stuff?
He swung at the same pitch in the same spot twice in that at bat. We talk all the time. If you show you have a weakness, if you have a hole in your swing, big league pitchers will exploit it. If you're going to swing at one of them up there, Josh is going to keep throwing them until you stop swinging at him.
Dustin Ackley, a single in the 5th, 1 for 3. Reaches out and rolls it over the mound. Ahmed for 1, make it 2, and the Diamondbacks win the ball game 8-4. And don't look now, but the Diamondbacks have won 4 in a row to get within 3 games of 500. And it's an Ahmed double play that ends it. They've won the series and can go for the sweep here tomorrow afternoon.
With that long stride by Nick Ahmed to get to the bag, not risking a flip onto Chris Owings, and then the strong throw to Goldie to end this one. Nice play, nice clean game tonight for the D-backs.
They out-hit the Mariners 12-9. They win it 8-4. Lots of offense for the Diamondbacks tonight. And his second win in as many big league starts for Zach Godley, who gave up 3 runs on 7 hits in 6 innings. David Peralta, a big day. The hometown hero Jake Lamb had a nice night as well. A walk and 2 singles. He scored twice. It adds up to an 8-4 D-backs win. Diamondback Live postgame show is next. Brought to you by CenturyLink on Fox Sports Arizona. D-backs win it 8-4. More from Seattle coming up.